Today, we're going to put on our detective hats and solve a really cool electric mystery. We've got this physics problem with two charges that are completely unknown, and our job is to figure out exactly what they are using just a couple of crucial clues.
That's right. I want you to think of this as a real investigation. We've got two suspects, our charges, and two key pieces of evidence. We're going to follow the trail of these electric fields to crack this case wide open. It's all about connecting the dots.
So, every good mystery needs its main characters, right? Well, in our case, there are two electric charges. We've got Q1, which we know is positive, and Q2, which we know is negative. And they're just sitting there, held at a fixed distance from each other.
Okay, so here are the undisputed facts of the case, the stuff we know for sure. We have a positive charge, Q1, and a negative one, Q2. They are separated by just 2 centimeters. Our mission is to find their exact values.
And here is our evidence. These are the two key clues we're going to use to solve this whole puzzle. First, at one specific point, the electric fields from our two charges completely cancel each other out. They just vanish. And second, at another point, they combine to create this very specific, measurable field. Let's break them down one by one.
All right, let's start with our first clue, this point of perfect balance. We're told that somewhere, 8 centimeters to the left of Q1, the total electric field is 0. Now this is a huge piece of information for us. So at this exact spot, you've got this perfect little tug-of-war happening. The positive charge, Q1, is creating a field that pushes away from it, so it points to the left. At the same time, the negative charge, Q2, is creating a field that pulls toward it, so it points to the right.
So, for the total field to actually be 0, what does that mean? It means this tug-of-war has to be a perfect draw. The push to the left has to have the exact same strength as the pull to the right. Their directions are opposite, so their magnitudes must be equal.
And here's how we translate that idea into math. We say the magnitude of E1 equals the magnitude of E2. That gives us our first key equation. See those absolute value signs? That just means right now we only care about the strength or the magnitude of the charges, not whether they're positive or negative.
Okay, let's plug in the distances we know. The distance from our point to Q1, which we call R1, is given right in the clue, 8 centimeters. Now, the distance to Q2, or R2, is going to be that same 8 centimeters plus the 2 centimeters between the charges. So that gives us a total of 10 centimeters.
So after we plug in those distances and we simplify our equation a little bit, we get our first major breakthrough. We don't know the exact value of either charge yet, but we now know how they're related. The magnitude of Q2 is exactly 1.5625 times bigger than the magnitude of Q1. This is a vital connection that we're going to use in just a minute.
All right, let's move on to our second clue and see how this new information helps. This time, we're looking at a different point, 5 centimeters to the right of our negative charge Q2. And here, the field isn't 0 at all. It's something very specific.
The clue says the field is negative 22.7 meganewtons per coulomb. Now, in physics, that negative sign is a huge deal. It's all about direction. By convention, right is the positive direction. So this negative field is telling us that the net force at this point is directed to the left.
Let's visualize the forces here again. Our positive charge Q1 is pushing to the right, but our negative charge Q2 is pulling to the left. And since our point is much closer to Q2, its pull is way stronger. It's clear that Q2 is winning this tug-of-war, which is exactly why the net field points to the left, just like the clue said.
And this lets us build our second master equation. The field from Q1, which is pointing right, minus the stronger field from Q2, which is pointing left, equals that net field of negative 22.7.
Okay, this is it. This is the moment where it all comes together. We have two clues and they gave us two equations. We also have two unknowns, Q1 and Q2. And that means we have everything we need to finally solve this mystery. Time for the breakthrough.
So what's the game plan? Well, it's actually pretty clever. We're going to take that critical relationship we found from our very first clue and plug it directly into our second, more complicated equation. This is the key that's going to unlock the whole thing. Remember that key piece of intel we uncovered? The magnitude of Q2 is just a multiple of Q1's magnitude. By substituting this in, we get rid of one of our unknowns, which means we can solve directly for Q1. It's brilliant.
So once we make that substitution, the physics part is pretty much done. Now it's just a matter of rolling up our sleeves and doing the algebra. combining the terms, doing the division to get that magnitude of Q1 all by itself.
And boom! There it is. The identity of our first suspect is revealed. After running the numbers, we find that the magnitude of our first charge, Q1, is exactly 6 microcoulombs. We found our first value.
And now that we've cracked Q1, finding Q2 is an absolute breeze. Seriously, it's super simple. We just go back to that relationship we found from clue number 1, multiply our value for Q1 by 1.5625, and we get the magnitude of Q2, 9.37 microcoulombs. We have the magnitudes of both of our charges. The investigation is almost complete. For the final step, we just need to put back the signs we knew about from the very beginning to reveal the full solution.
And here it is, the final reveal. We knew from the start that Q1 was positive and Q2 was negative. So we combine that with the magnitudes we just found, and we can now definitively identify our charges. Q1 is positive 6 microcoulombs, and Q2 is negative 9.37 microcoulombs. Case closed. So we've solved our mystery. But, every good story leaves you with a little something to think about. What would happen in this problem if Q2 were also a positive charge? Would there even be a point where the field is zero? That's a new mystery for you to solve. Thanks for joining the investigation.